each associate.
Rightio. Here we are. We're here. We're live. How's it going? How's it going, Jamie? You alright?
It's going good, yeah, it's going good. So we've got an interesting set of games ahead of us, so
We do.
basically, what we're just commenting over is effectively a varsity match between two universities, and obviously the game is Overwatch. So it'll be a best of 5 series, playing all map types and then control twice, and effectively it is just going to be whoever takes the most maps wins.
Indeed, indeed. Well, we're seeing, I believe, Surrey versus Royal Holloway, University of London. It's going to be an exciting match. Who knows what the outcome's going to be, Jamie? Who knows? But
No idea.
what I do know is that apparently we are streaming Tekken 7 exhibition tournament.
Yeah, I think I think we might need to check the stream time.
We may need to change to change that, but you know it's okay. What is a road without a few speed bumps? So
yeah, unfortunately we're not watching Tekken today. We love a bit of Tekken, but it pushes the name of the game. It's what we're here to watch. So how about obviously we've still got a little while before we get to the first map, but how about we talk about the teams, maybe what they like to play, and they're kind of like their specialities, I guess. Because we had a little chat, didn't we, with the captains for each team, and we asked them, you know, what do you love to play? What's your favorite thing to run? What do you think your team is the best at running? What do you have the most success on? So let's maybe go over that a little bit.
Sure.
First. So I guess we'll start with RHUL Holloway. I think for the most part they play a pretty broad variety of compositions.
Oh yes.
So, but from what they told me, they do like to play a lot of the Dallas style kind of fast rush, kind of dive rush kind of fusion comps with the Monkey and the Diva, alongside like Moira and Lucio, and then possibly like Sombra, Reaper, kind of stuff like that thrown into the mix. You know, so stuff that can go in and get out fast. Prioritize targets and kind of basically just eliminate the backline, depending on what the enemy team is playing.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Because I mean, obviously Dallas had massive success in the Overwatch League with that comp. Do you think they're gonna have the same level of success in this game today?
Well, I'll have to say, Jamie, I have more experience of knowing how Royal Holloway plays than I do with how Surrey plays. Unfortunately, I haven't had an insight into how Surrey likes to play their compositions at the moment. But what I do know is that Royal Holloway do like to take that. They do like to take that aggressive stance. They like to take those kinds of the more brawly type plays where they go for the picks and then objective is second almost. But you know, keeping that objective in mind, the aggressive playstyle should suit them, and we've got to see how that goes for them, really.
Well, if you compare that obviously to our second team, which is Surrey, when I spoke to them about what kind of comps they would probably be considering playing, they said that mainly for them it's all about the BRUL, like the Rhine rush effectively. So Rhine, Diva, playing lots of Lucio, and from what I gather, they don't actually have a hit scan player. So I think for the most part, it will be we'll see. I mean, probably seeing double projectile heroes on
We'll
their
have to
team.
see how that goes.
But obviously Tracer kind of falls in that middle ground, so we'll probably see a lot of that as well, possibly combined. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see stuff like May, Reaper, possibly something like an Echo. Who really knows? But yeah, that's kind of what they really love to play. So I want to ask you this: do you think that the lack of a hit scan player for their team is going to screw them in the long run in terms of the 5 maps that they've got ahead of them?
Well, honestly, there's not really much telling in the state of Overwatch. We find ourselves in a kind of, honestly, I feel like hit scan is almost an option compared to the projectile DPS in a way when it comes to rotating around some metas, because in some instances the hit scan characters that are flexed into by flex players usually sometimes.
I mean, yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. But honestly, we just gotta find out, really. I'm honestly so curious as to how they will play without a hit scan, because I do know that on Royal Holloway they do like to pick up the Cassidy every now and then. but without a dedicated hard hit scan player, I'd want to see how they play against that Cassidy.
I mean, it's almost. I mean, you're saying about how the flex players move over and pick up maybe some of the kind of the muddy kind of middle ground for heroes between hit scan and proj. But obviously in Overwatch, as the game's gone on, we've kind of seen a lot of players, DPS players especially, kind of develop into this kind of hyper flex where they kind of play kind of bits of everything, and that's what makes them so elite of players. And it's almost ironic that we talked about RHUL Holloway loving to play the Dallas style comps, and Surrey are playing almost in a team scenario very similar to what Dallas experienced last season of the Overwatch League, in that they didn't have a hit scan player and they made it work with stuff like Symmetra.
Yeah.
And they played a lot of Soldier as well. Obviously it's a hit scan, but who knows? I think we'll possibly see quite a lot of Symmetra as well. Actually, I actually kind of slipped over that, especially on those early control maps. It's just so good at locking down the point. Especially.
Yeah, I think it's especially on the Koth maps, the Sim is very much a viable pick. I don't think I haven't seen a scrim without a Symmetra on the Koth where they use the TP to go in, especially on a map like Lijiang, where we'll see usually on maps like Night Market, we'll see a fast Lucio engage with a Sim TP onto the top of point through the window, and then it starts to brawl from there. But what we have to really pay attention to is who's going to take the first pick, who's going to get the best positioning on that point, because we know that if one team's running a Symmetra, it's most likely both teams are going to be running the Symmetra.
That's
like
true.
in all honesty. So we just got to see who can take advantage or who slips up after that initial TP onto point and when it begins the team fight.
I mean, just like on a very micro level, that first TP is honestly possibly the most important.
Yeah.
I mean, it honestly can be a fraction of a second, and your team will lose the fight because getting that early engage, getting that early setup, and getting those turrets up on chokeholds and pushing out and creating space, it's so important with the Sim. It's honestly small errors is what we'll be looking for with these Sim comps if they do decide to play it. Small errors, and that will be the decider of who wins. Unless, of course, we see other slip-ups, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So, we should be going into the game soon, though, hopefully. We're almost ready to go.
There we go, so we're getting it ready from one team, so we're just going to wait for that, and then we are ready to get started. Into the hype, into the game, into the Varsity match.
So we're starting
between
on
two universities.
On Lijiang, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Really popular map in terms of for teams to scrim on, because it's such a broad map in terms of you can really play a lot of everything. But for the most part, I think we will see a lot of the rush with the Ryan and the Sim, and because it's control, all you have to do is hold an objective to 100%. Obviously, when enemies step on the point, the timer still keeps going, but it's contested effectively. So we're in the game now.
Initiating match.
There you go. And also another thing with Koth maps is that they're just so unlike any other kind of map in Overwatch in the fact that they're just purely symmetrical on either side. So what it is really is it's mostly down to player positioning and player movement and how fast they can get out those abilities and pull them off, because in the end of the day both teams have the same start point and they also have the same goal and the same distance to that goal. So we just gotta see how RHUL Holloway fares against Surrey. And we can see here that we're bringing out the Monkey Diva from Surrey against the Ball Hog from RHUL Holloway. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a troll pick, but at the same time, we have to see, because I know that Kieran is a very confident off-tank player. Sorry, Pleasure is a very confident off-tank player, but we'll see if he switches. There we go, and there's the switch.
It's a shame, I was really hoping for the Hog pick there. I took a bit of Hog gameplay, but we'll be seeing the Full Diva, so it's effectively 5 versus Poke.
Yeah, we saw that the Lucio switched to the Brig at the end there for RHUL Holloway. And we can see RHUL Holloway is a bit stuck on this bridge here.
I think think that's all to do with the lack of the Lucio, right? Obviously, with no Lucio, they can't fast engage onto the point.
Well, we can see that Royal Holloway is using a lot of abilities already at the start, trying to just maintain their position on the bridge, and Kermsid is taken out right away by Blind Luck, with Kabuwoodle following soon after. So honestly, Jamie, it looks here like it's just an instant win for Surrey.
And I think for the basis of that was that early slip up, right? They obviously were slower to engage, so Surrey can effectively just take the position, do what they want with it, and that's what we're seeing now is that they've taken control of the point and they just clean up the stragglers.
So we like to see that. We see that Royal Holloway likes to take these kind of more brawly fights where they almost believe they can win it with just 2 people. So we see that, you know, they've almost had to spend more time regrouping now after this team fight than they have actually contesting. So we can see here that Cheese is going on the ball against the Sombra in the back here, maybe causing a distraction for them. It just seems that he's aimlessly trying to distract the enemy, and oh, he gets taken out in a clumsy attempt to get back out.
I mean, that was an unfortunate, but pretty massive feed there for Royal Holloway. I mean, without a ball to create distraction in the backline, the team kind of has no way of getting through this chokehold now without just raw pick potential.
And here we see that the rest of Royal Holloway is going to struggle trying to push through this choke. They did build up that trans though, and they are using it with ults going in from both sides with the EMP coming in now to cancel out the Transcendence. And Kermsid gets taken out straight away from there. We're getting a bomb and a blade. The blade gets cancelled by Kabuwoodle with that massive flail. But we can see that Royal Holloway's mines are still zoning out. Slightly. They're keeping away from the point, but now they're taking the engage here. We've seen the rally pull out from Royal Holloway, and it's almost just super brawly. But Blind Luck does get taken out by Top Shagger. And we can see there's a bit of a support duel on the outside, but wow, Royal Holloway managed to turn that around. And a bomb finally just from Surrey, just to see if they could make any kind of attempt at taking the point, but I don't think it's possible. Here we see Blind Luck just trying to take it back.
Very surprised actually they won that team fight, because they invested a lot of ults early on into the team fight. In fact, 4 ults were invested by Royal Holloway in that early team fight. But as the team fight extended and the fights went on longer and longer and longer, Surrey just couldn't seem to hold their footing. And obviously they used the MP, they swapped off the Genji to the Cassidy now. But they do have a Primal coming up. They're already online actually, so I imagine we'll see an engage with the Primal to keep that monkey alive.
We have to see with that, because we see ASP is coming back up on another trans while Ace is only at 40%. Oh, Top Shagger takes that lamp out with his pulse bomb, but gets taken in exchange by 162. We get, oh my goodness, Kermsid's ult just got cancelled as well in that fight. We see the window coming out. Sorry, are trying to take the advantage, but they're getting pushed back slightly, but by a single brig, almost.
And
we see the fight. We see the fight is taking to the outskirts as well as, well, we can see Blind Luck is trying to take out Kabuwoodle, and he does eventually succeed. Very messy team fight in the end here, Jamie. I think it's very split team fights. A lot of focus is spread amongst 1v1s almost in a way.
I would agree. I mean, effectively, it is just brawly. I mean, it is just whoever gets the pick and survives the longest effectively is winning these team fights. And for the most part, Surrey's team comp is more sustainable. It has the lamp, it has the AoE healing for the Lucio. Whereas I'm pretty sure Holloway is very dependent on these picks. That's a massive EMP though, 4-man EMP.
Here we go, and we also see the beat coming out. They're trying to reinforce their push to just defend the point to the last tick. We see Cheese come out here with the mines and the rally from Kabuwoodle. We see a window and the High Noon coming out as well from Surrey. There's ults just being traded back and forth in pairs here. But we see it's trade for trade. Kabuwoodle being taken first, and then both are a support down and a support up, taking a pick each.
Oh.
Wow, King taking the remake as well as a bomb kill as well here. So it's very much down to Top Shagger and Pleasure. Pleasure taking out the bomb. Let's see if we get anything here. Unfortunately, it's just zoning.
I think this team fight is effectively over at this point, Ruben. I mean, they're gonna keep coming back into stall, but they're effectively just feeding ult charge to Surrey at this point. I mean, that's a big feed there from 162.
I think ASP could be the difference maker here, with Kermsid's ult being cancelled again during this team fight. You see Kermsid is deep in there, but Cheese comes to peel for him and gets 2!
I mean, I have no idea how they pulled that back, because, I mean, that was basically Surrey's 2-win right there. But, I mean, the fact that 162 fell off the map is obviously bad for the team comp. But the cancel onto, comes into Death Blossom was really good, but they just couldn't follow up on it, Ruben. There was just no follow up there. So
it was honestly very smart from RHUL Holloway to be able to peel for the Reaper, especially in that position where he got caught out, and they managed to bring it back with Cheese being the main carry there. We see Blind Luck trying to take some distraction from the team, with a lot of them often following onto the bridge, and Kermsid does fall for the old bait and switch. Blind Luck coming back around, circling with the mines, taking back the point. Surrey looks to take control here, but Cheese likes to counter here with his own mines. Honestly, taking two with the better positioning. And we see 2 ults coming over from Surrey. King taking 2 in return, in revenge. And it looks like it's up to Kermsid to try and fight them all off. Here we go. ASP building up another trans. My goodness, this is honestly quite fast ult build up from the Zenyatta here for the team. Oh, we see Cavawoodles also switch to the Lucio for the last minute contest, and they flip it.
That's honestly incredibly surprising, but there was a few key things there of why Surrey's downfall kind of befell them. And the first thing you got to look at is lamp usage, Ruben. I don't know if you saw in that team fight, but Protein threw his lamp. I think he kind of maybe overshot a little bit, and it went straight past the point onto the little pagoda on the side there, serving no purpose. Obviously, lamp is such a massive ability in this game. It's so crucial, especially in these team comps. Like the Baptiste, the lamp is probably apart from the splash shielding you get and the fast ult build up he has, the lamp is the most important part of this kit. So
true.
Flopping that, and then obviously Cheese getting the 2 with the mines, even with the bomb, it wasn't worth it. There was just no following from that. So,
well,
obviously now we see these, the sim.
As we were talking about before, with the foreboding, the former support coming in as the DPS, lasering down Blind Luck. My goodness, that is the power of the Symmetra. The TP, it just goes to show, Jamie, how quickly a Lucio TP can just get you to the point and just take an advantage.
And as we were saying about that first engage on this map with the Symmetra is the most important, because getting those turrets up and getting that space taken. I mean, look how far back Surrey are pushed right now. They're trying to push in now, but obviously it's going to be a massive tackle.
Well, we can see that Surrey are attempting to push in with the fast window build-up, but Top Shagger just immediately cancels out with the 2 kills. And honestly, I think that's just team fight over there, Jamie.
It's definitely team fight. And what? All they had to do was invest. They both invested obviously only in 1 ult each, but RHUL Holloway came out on top. It was just a better window. So,
well, when it comes to
mine launcher,
when it comes to window, it's usually more about comboing with your teammates, especially in this case the Reinhardt, about being able to combo the Fire Strike just perfectly with the window, and whoever gets that one off first often is the winner.
Well, they've come up with Shatter now. Both teams coming up with Shatter. With Symbol also coming up for both, and Tyre. There's a lot of mirroring going on here, Ruben. It's only going to see who can get the most value out of these ults.
We can see that. My goodness, we can see that RHUL Holloway like to take a bit more of a pincer approach to the team fight, which has, I believe, left them quite open for a straight push from Surrey straight into the point right here, and it looks like they're going to be just wiping out the point for a quick retake.
So that was a Shatter mano a mano, and unfortunately it did not come out on RHUL for RHUL Holloway, unfortunately. But a bit odd, they invested the symbol. I'm not entirely sure why. So now they have the symbol to engage with now, and bomb comes in, and it's just carnage.
So as well as the symbol, they use the bomb to zone, but to no avail, unfortunately. The lamp has been saved to go out now, and it's actually just kept them up 1. But unfortunately, RHUL Holloway is taking the advantage with ASP taking the window from the high ground, and just getting that different off angle to get the advantage.
I mean, the ult build-up great between ASP and Protein is... I think it's differing the team a little bit. Just having that window to engage with is so important, because you have to kite back. You can't play in that window's LOS, because you will just get mauled with damage. Here comes the Tyre.
Here comes the Tyre from Top Shagger. Here we go. Taking out his mirrored pick. We can see the massive shatter from Cheese coming in. Not sure if it was too worth with them being 2 picks up, but we can see that it's honestly just secured them, giving them a concrete win for this team fight.
It has, but it also means they have no ult to work with now.
Oh, here we go. 162 has taken 2 picks from a cocky RHUL Holloway, but to no avail. Unfortunately, that is not enough for them to win it.
I once again, I think it was just these small little micro problems
Play of the
for
game.
Surrey that I think is the reason why they lost. I think for the most part, ult usage was fairly like decent across the board for both teams, but that symbol wasting on that team engage, which they would definitely won with the shatter. It was like a 4-man shatter, which is just really unnecessary. So it's frustrating to see them use that ult because that could have been used almost to mirror Comes in 10 when he came into the point with his own wall. Obviously, there was no wall to mirror it. So, but I think the key things to look out for that match was lamp usage, window building, and general overinvestment of ults. I think those are the 3 things you got to look at. So if you are Surrey right now, I think I don't know. I mean, it's a bit worrying because they said that the strengths were in this Rhine kind of rush brawl, you know, big brawly with the Sim and the Lucio, but obviously losing to a team that predominantly has been said that they mainly play the ball, it's a little bit worrying about what maybe is up to come, but who knows? It's too early to say.
Who knows? Who knows? But also, I have another note as well as we also managed to see. I believe it was. I do believe it was Ace who flexed onto the Mei for the last team fight there. I'm not sure if you noticed, Jamie, but I do believe that Ace did flub his wall for Surrey.
I did not see
on that side. Unfortunately, he didn't manage to block anyone off with the wall. Unfortunately, just put the wall between each 2 teams and separated them. So I think that is also a big key factor in what lost them the team fight, is that they were down that resource. And the resource just was not well placed in the end of the day. But
I mean, when you're trading the Sim out for the Mei, obviously the Sim is hyper damage, right? It builds off of shields, it's scaling. It basically is a shredder effectively. Once you hit that high level of charge, it shreds effectively anything in its path. So to swap from the Sim to the Mei, you really got to get max use out of those walls because. Apart from building Blizzard, which it takes a little bit of a while, like it's pretty slow ult build. Obviously, you gotta get those walls off. It's super important, and obviously Ace didn't get it, unfortunately. So let's see what they run for this next map, but let's hope it's maybe things with less walls, and maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll see some different kind of projectile heroes coming out here.
Maybe some more mobile plays. But we are here on Volskaya Industries. It's a 2 CP map, so for those who are versed in the Overwatch game modes, we won't have to see this being played competitively for too much longer, hopefully. But for those who aren't versed, 2 CP is also known as Assault in competitive terms, is a map where there are 2 capture points. There's capture A and B. You go straight from the attacking team goes straight towards point A. They will fight over that point. Once they get 3 ticks on that point, they will proceed to get an extension of a time and be able to push to the back of the map for point B. Once they've captured point B, that counts as the entire round being finished. And then it's up to the teams to swap, and for the next attacking team to do the same.
So 2CP is kind of notoriously a bit tricky, just on the basis that usually you're pushing through a fairly tight choke. A very small area to work with, and so it's obviously a bit hard to get through, especially if you've got a lot of damage coming through. Like if you're playing, like kind of what we're seeing RHUL Holloway play here, with the Zen, with the Sigma, with the Ashe, got a lot of damage coming out. It's kind of hard to push through a choke with that. So we're gonna have to see how Surrey handled that. But they are playing the dive, so it is hyper mobile. They can get in and out pretty easily. It's about picking these dive targets, which will be very, very difficult with that break. But we'll have to see how good the peel is for RHUL Holloway.
We will have to see, Jeremy. Well, I would expect that this Sombra is going to take a bit more of an advantage position, with Cheese getting caught out. As we do know, Ball is more of a difficult character to play on 2CP defense, especially in the maps with little verticality like Volskaya. And we can see that RHUL Holloway has kind of receded back to the top, to the back of the point. And we can see that Surrey is also circling to try and catch them out here. With no tank there to save them, it looks like the supports and the DPS are just on their own. Cavahoodle's taking a bit more of an aggressive position here, we can see. But Pleasure is also backing them up, with Cheese coming back just in time for the save.
So that was a very, very, I don't know if you saw that, a very early overinvestment of the lamp there to effectively save their Winston, who was in no danger. I don't know if that was a misclick or it was just maybe they thought the danger was worse. It's honestly hard to say. Honestly, the problem that I saw there was that they kind of got dismantled from range and they couldn't close the gap, which is the biggest problem with playing dive against a comp like this, especially with the break. It's so difficult.
It's very interesting because we see that Cheese is getting hacked on the opening by the Sombra every time, and he does get picked, but we do see that Surrey struggles to get those rotations and those fast executes onto the rest of the team, especially since the tank is caught out of position from the Zenyatta and the Brig. And we see Pleasure being taken out as is foretold.
RHUL are effectively just playing Overwatch 2 already, Ruben. They've got the early patch, I think.
Goodness.
These team fights with the 5v6 is brutal. Like, I mean, they're somehow winning it back. I have no idea how.
I do feel like Cheese is almost the savior for the team in a way. As soon as he returns, the morale just goes way up, and they just get the energy back to be able to take this team fight. ASP using his Transcendence to save Top Shagger. In this case, I believe that Transcendence may have been a bit too soon, as we see as ASP gets folded on. However, we do see 2 picks coming out from RHUL Holloway. It is a bit of a brawl here, and we with the Sombra still taking on hacks, but not managing to be able to communicate that to his team, because we're not seeing very many dives onto that. We also see the Lucio being taken out for the team, with the Blade being coming back in trade. So we have 1 rally coming out from RHUL Holloway, but in return, Surrey has built up 3 ultimates, so we're just going to have to see what they do with that on the next team fight, Jimmy.
But they did manage to bait out that Blade there, which honestly got nothing, unfortunately. So, that was a very good team fight for RHUL Holloway. Even with the feed from Cheese at the start, they still find a way to rotate their players slowly onto the point, don't let them get too much tick percentage. Obviously, they didn't even get a first tick on the point. So, and now they're taking the early engage. Cheese
no lamp here. It's going to be a difficult one for Surrey to be able to survive, as is shown by Cheese taking out 2 with his grappling hook.
So, we're kind of seeing that point now where they're struggling to find the dive targets, and they have the EMP coming in, which is, I think, the ult you should be looking at for this next team fight, because this is probably what's going to make or break, right? Well, that might make it a little bit easier.
Well, they've done it every time so far, Jamie. We're gonna have to see if they can manage to succeed on this time. They do say 3rd time is the charm. So we see RHUL Holloway are being pushed back to the top right of point. With the bomb coming out, Caboodle managing to stun it and stop the momentum, but they are bringing the window out onto the point. EMP going out with the beat. Oh my goodness, sorry, are just investing. Without a main tank to help coordinate any dives, we are seeing that they are quite split up and struggling to get kind of any coordination going. RHUL Holloway just seems to have taken all of their ults on the chin and just come back with the tank ults just to zone out the point.
It's honestly frustrating to see, Ruben, because even when, right, in the ult game, I would say that RHUL Holloway has, on average, been using their ults, maybe not the best sometimes. So
that's one way to put it.
That's the chat. So the Bob from Kerms 10 obviously didn't go anywhere near the point. It flew off some other direction and kind of just did nothing. The Flux unfortunately got hacked. Honestly, nothing much you can really do about that with the EMP coming out. So even with these 2 ults lost, right, Bob and Flux, 2 really big ults, really useful for winning the team fight back. Even with those lost, Surrey still couldn't find the right dive onto the targets, and as a result, the whole composition just crumbles. Because when your monkey can't get in the back line, he can't get onto the supports. He's kind of just standing around, kind of just existing, you know, kind of just doing his own thing, kind of just zapping the air. So what I want to see for this defense is, from RHUL Holloway at least, maybe see Cheese, or he's still playing the ball, but maybe not taking these super aggressive dives against a Sombra. Doesn't really work. And for Surrey, I want to see more prioritization of targets, and maybe, well, they've stopped the comp now, which is good. I think this is a better comp than what they were running.
Well, we'll have to see, Jamie. As we saw before, that 162 was struggling to find any kind of compositional application for his hero pool, especially after the Genji got picked. And we see Cheese going out with his signature first death on it every time.
It's iconic at this point.
Well, what can we say? There's a missing child in aisle 2, and unfortunately he's been feeding ult charge to the enemy. We do see here that Topshagger is taking the advantage of just kind of poking them from behind, just taking some of that ult charge off. But right now the fight is quite stagnant. As we can see, we're just waiting for Cheese to come back, and as he has, he's taken a pick.
It is the second coming. Well, I was about to say it was inaction from Surrey there, but they've actually managed to pull it back with 162 actually just dominating with that Mercy Pocket on the Ashe.
Well, it looks like they finally found their swing of things and their pace with the Ashe, especially since on defense on 2CP you can take a much more slow and passive role as the DPS player, especially as a hit scan. Wow. Just sitting back, taking that Mercy Pocket, and just being able to, you know, you throw out a dynamite, zone it out, get some damage in. Once they split up a bit, you can just take your picks.
I think Cheese dying in that early team fight really hurt them. While he came back and got that first pick, they were stuck in that little room in that choke, allowing to get chipped down by the Ashe's dynamite, or any like nades or things they can throw, and it kind of hurt them in the long run because it did just make the team fight go incredibly stagnant and allowed Surrey to kind of just move into whatever position they wanted to.
Well, we can see here that Cheese is going for his signature pile driver, but unfortunately he has been predicted. But what we do see is that whilst he is on the bottom floor shopping for pants, we do see that the rest of RHUL Holloway has rotated onto it. We didn't see that there, but Topshagger did get his pulse bomb eaten, with ASP bringing out the Transcendence to just secure their survivability on that point. It looks like RHUL Holloway is taking the picks necessary to push in.
It's a massive EMP though, 4-man, basically the entire team at that point. But it is a massive investment of ults.
Well, Cheese has come in with the opening pick on the recontest, and we can see that, honestly, RHUL Holloway are just cleaning up house here. Not much else to say there, Jamie. It's just a bit of a wipe.
It was, unfortunately, and even with the signature Cheese feed, they still just couldn't manage to pull it off. I honestly am a bit stumped for what to say, because when you're in these 5v6 scenarios, Ruben, when you have down a player, especially a role as important as main tank, you know, the ball is so important in this combat, setting up the little like poke chip damage when you power drive into the backline. Without that, you know, the comp is arguably not that strong without that ball. So with Cheese not even being there and then still finding the success, you kind of got to question, wow, what went wrong with Surrey, because they kind of had it all, right? And I think the first thing you need to look for is actually the team comp. So we spoke about it a little bit, but the problem with them wanting to run the Rhine on defense without a Lucio, for that matter, because they're playing the Mercy to get maximum value out of their Ashe, is that your Rhine is effectively just a shield bot. Somebody who'll touch point to contest, maybe get a bit of a pocket from the Bap or the Ana to keep him alive on the point. But besides that, he's effectively useless. I don't actually remember if they shattered that round. I don't think they did.
I can't actually recall either.
Because I imagine ult charge was effectively nil to none. So the problem is that when you're playing this, and then obviously you have to heavy resource invest into the Ashe to get all the value out of it, and the comp just for me, it just didn't work. It was kind of flawed against the Ball Diva, which, as we've seen, is a pretty dominant composition. At least it has been for the last kind of half a year. Besides something maybe like Double Shield, but neither of the teams seem intent on playing Double Shield, and seemingly only RHUL Holloway really want to play the Ball Diva. So I think for the next map it's King's Row, which from what Surrey have told me, from their captain Blind Luck told me, it should be their best map because it's Brawl Heaven, Ruben. It's Brawl Heaven, as you know. It is
indeed. Well,
Reinhardt's love it.
Well, it's just honestly, Jamie, I think it's just Overwatch Heaven. Honestly, I think King's Row is just the ultimate. It's one of the best maps in the game. Like it's subjective across, but I think everyone in Overwatch has said that King's Row can't really go too wrong. Well, unless you completely throw the map, but otherwise, in terms of design, I love the map myself. I think it's perfect, especially for if Surrey want to take back control in this series with that Rhine play, especially that they rely on a lot more. They play a lot more defensive and slow, so we have to see how it plays, especially against Royal Holloway's sacrificial cheese piece routine. But
Well,
we're just gonna have to
the
see.
question can Cheese feed on Ryan and Royal Holloway still find success? Because while I said that the ball in that comp was incredibly important, in Brawl, without your Reinhardt, the comp just falls apart. You need that shield, you need that big hulking figure on the field to displace the enemy and to create space. No space taking means usually no team fight wins for the most part, Ruben. So I hope that Cheese will play maybe a little bit more conservative this round, but it's hard to say. I think it is incredibly hard to say.
It is. Unfortunately, only the old gods could tell us now whether his sacrifice will be necessary this map, Jamie. But what we can see is that Royal Holloway are looking at more of a. We're seeing an old meta composition here, but mishmashed with some other pieces. We're gonna have to see if they switch these out or if they're actually gonna commit with this. I do believe they're
actually committing. My lord.
Cheese on the road.
Cheese on the hog is a sight to behold, I will say.
Oh goodness! And the signature top shagger on Doomfist with Kermsit following on the Genji.
Something makes me think maybe that they're not taking this super seriously, Ruben. But
yeah, it has to be a demoralizing gesture towards the enemies.
Incredibly.
Well, we see here that Blind Luck is taking a bit more of a forward position, which led to Ace getting picked right there. He managed to save himself, but 162 got caught out of position, and I do believe we're going to just see Royal Holloway just fold in on Surrey here.
So obviously the hook is a lethal ability, as you know, Ruben.
Oh yes.
when by hooking Ace in, the whole team had to peel. It was a whole team effort because Hog can effectively just two-shot. So, and with all that peel going on, they don't notice the backline getting mauled by Top Shagger on the Doom, going in.
Well, we do see Cheese getting sacrificed there because of the greed, but honestly, it secured them the point. So I don't think he has anything to be ashamed of there. We are seeing that Royal Holloway are also just up on the ult charge here. In comparison to Surrey, they're going out with the Nano Blade straight away, but Top Shagger takes the first pick in that team fight. Kermsit following with another pick on his blade, and Top Shagger using his Meteor Strike. It's just ults after ults from the DPS here.
It's endless, Ruben. It's honestly endless. But the thing is you look over at Surrey's ults, and they don't really have much. They have the beat, they have the window. Obviously, the beat is super important to keep them alive. The window is great at creating that space, but Cheese is just trucking forward. He's just going forward into their backline effectively. He's in their house, I think. But I mean, the strength of these hog comps, Ruben, is the hog. You put heavy investment into the hog, and you give him the bubbles, you give him the nades, you discord his targets that he hooks. But
Cheese missing the hook there.
You miss those hooks, you get pushed out of position, and the hog just crumbles. But
well, we see the whole hog coming out from Cheese as a defensive gesture. Get out of my den. This is where my eggs are laid. But we do see that Top Shagger does pick off 162 after he got separated from his team staying on main, and we will see Protein Farts releasing his window finally after 2 team fights, with a grab coming out from Pleasure just to kind of group the team together and almost keep them inside of their own mail, unfortunately, leading to not much. Surrey actually managed to pull that back quite well here.
Well, they did, but I do believe that the Mei ult might have been a bit of an overinvestment, just on the basis that the Mei wall itself from Ace was already pretty excellent. It created a schism between the two teams, and there was no real way of getting around it with the payload in the way as well. So I don't think the blitz was necessary, but honestly, to win the team fight back and to take the tempo back away from Royal Holloway is super important. So let's hope they run with it, honestly.
Right, well, we see Cheese is on the flank here, missing the hook, unfortunately, and getting caught out by the team. That is the sacrificial pawn that we've seen before. With the shatter coming out from Blind Luck, but being countered by Pleasure's bubble mechanic. It's honestly very good management for the bubble side here. Topshagger coming in and taking in a pick from Protein Farts here. And I do think that Royal Holloway is going to rotate. I just think it's...
Oh. Sleep coming out from ASP to shut down that Genji ult, it must be crushing.
Honestly, I gotta think now, Jerry. I think Royal Holloway are just on a supernatural witchcraft level of gameplay. Cheese just goes in, he gets sacrificed, and then they get imbued with the power of the old gods, Jerry. It's like Cthulhu himself has just said, "You will now win." Here we got the Nano Blade coming out here.
We've seen teams run out like this before, Ruben, but maybe not to this level of success. Maybe we saw it kind of in with the old Runaway team. You know, Bumper would go in, he would feed on the Reinhardt, but the rest of the Runaway team would just clean up after him. And honestly, Cheese is the Bumper of Royal Holloway esports. He is the Bumper. So I realistically, Surrey should be able to take tempo here because
Sibs has just been assassinated from the back line.
not even.
Where is the Metal Gear, Jamie? I must know.
It's nowhere. It's just nowhere. It's gone. I think it's pretty much all over for Surrey at this point. I think mentals might be shattered after this map.
Well, at this point they've had their spaghetti. They've had it nicely covered with the seasoning of Parmesan, and it's just been dropped onto the floor, Jamie. I think their dreams are being slowly but surely crushed by Royal Holloway here with the sloppy playstyle that's just somehow working out for them. Topshagger again, just taking one pick with his ult and just capitalizing on the team fight.
I mean, they're trying to sort this out, but it's pretty futile with Cheese with the whole hog and, well, no longer the whole hog, but...
Well, we see the beat come out from Sibs in a last-ditch attempt to take this point back and bring the clock down a little bit more. Blind Luck does manage to pin Topshagger, but he is nanoed, so that does lead to him surviving, unfortunately, for Surrey. Sibs is the last man standing, and he will have to try and take the point, but he gets body blocked by Topshagger, and is just... Honestly, Jay, that was just... what much more is there to say than just...
It's
wow.
hard to commentate on, because even with Cheese donating his entire health pool to the enemy Mei, by missing those hooks on the flank, you know, it can work, but it's a very, like, high-risk, high-reward gameplay style, right? And without the bubble there, without anything to peel for you, you're effectively a goner when you go on these flanks and miss the hook. So... I think the problem is maybe a bit of a difficulty to adapt from Surrey. I would have liked to have seen maybe the Ana come out over the Baptiste. I know that the Baptiste is kind of really important for keeping your Reinhardt alive, but the nade onto a hog, obviously you need the cleanse from the Zarya bubble, but then you're kind of investing abilities just to cleanse your main tank, right? So I hope, I mean, we're seeing it now, that they are actually playing the Ana, and I hope that they stick with it, especially if Royal Holloway decide to stick with the hog, which I don't think they are. I think they're going back to the old brawl, which maybe might actually screw over Surrey, because they're playing. I guess it's going to be a well, it's a Sigma hog comp apparently, Ruben.
Well, we're seeing that, but we're also seeing the Rein Zarya being comboed with Topshagger's Doomfist and Kermsid's Widowmaker. We're gonna have to see how this playstyle works, because we're seeing two different playstyles, more of a aggressive type mixed with a passive and laid back take a pick kind of playstyle. But Topshagger just does come in and just rip them out. The guttering has been removed, unfortunately.
I mean, massive side. I mean, like, the Prick's job effectively in Surrey's comp is to stop things like the Doomfist from diving on your backline. But the thing is, when you're getting walked over by Cheese and his Reinhardt with his bubbles, and when you've got the Widow chipping you down from afar, it's exceptionally easy to just get lost in it all, Ruben. It's exceptionally easy, and you'll just forget what your purpose is. And I think maybe that happened a little bit to Sibs there.
Well, we do see Cheese did unfortunately fail the sneaky pin from behind, but we just see that there's no real counterplay from Surrey. There's not any rhyme or reason to either team composition, but unfortunately Surrey is just not able to take advantage of the positioning errors from Royal Holloway.
I think the lack of a hit scan is really hurting them here, Ruben. I mean, with nothing to challenge, Ben, comes to 10, sorry. Obviously you have the Genji, and you have the Tor, which can do long range, like a little bit of chip. There's nothing to deal with it. So they can't have to push through the chokes, taking massive damage.
Well, we've also got to see that the difference between the Baptiste and the Ana here is honestly quite blatant. There's not really been any meaningful sleeps here, as we can see, especially for a dive character like Doomfist here coming in from behind and picking off the support players. We can just see that we're seeing a lot of fast pushes, but we're seeing that Royal Holloway just has that sustain with the BAP and possible window if they need it. And as is shown, apart from maybe 1 or 2 picks, Surrey just has no way of coming back from that initial engage from Top Shagger.
I think the issue there was, I know I said I wanted them to play the Ana, but they're not playing the Hog anymore, so they should really have swapped back to the Baptiste by now. Obviously they're waiting for this Nano Blade, but it's taking a long time to build, and they've already invested in Nano, so
they're investing ults here though, Jamie, after Kermson decided to try and take the close range 1v1 against 162 on the Genji, and it looks like Surrey are going to use that to their advantage, finally turning the team fight, investing 3 ults, I do believe. 4 ults actually, 4 ults with the beat. And yeah, well, with that many ults being chucked out when you're 1 player down, unfortunately that's just how the world works.
So I would actually like to see a composition change from Royal Holloway now, actually. I think the Widow, especially on the second half to the third part of the map, maybe less so, doesn't really work. And honestly, I think they would get better value out of maybe like a Mei or an Echo or something of the sorts. But they're investing with the.
You see the window coming out, and Pleasure is actually taking the Rhine here with Cheese taking the off tank role. They are taking an aggressive push here with King throwing out the bomb here, only taking the lamp, unfortunately. But with that down, it does look like Surrey is capable of taking the push. But it looks like it's the other way around. Top Shagger is gone in, and the enemy team is just pushed right back into their spawn, possibly going back into their old spawn, Jamie.
I mean, this is just rough, but I mean, they've come up with the blade now, they've got the beat, so they have these 2 important ults they can invest, hopefully swing the team fight. So they
The flubbed ult there might be costing them a little bit, with Blind Luck just being able to go into the backline and tear them open. Kermson is going against the Reinhardt. Somehow I don't believe he's going to get much done there, but it looks like it's another free push on Streets phase for Surrey.
Honestly, it's been rather surprising that they've not been investing the Nano into these blades. But I assume that because the build time is so slow with this team comp, because the Genji, his purpose may be a little bit more muddy in these team comps, apart from just blading and diving like the Widow here. They have just chosen to invest into their Reinhardt, which has been paying off.
Well, we can see here the initial engage from Top Shagger, again proving to successfully take out one of the backline characters that they need to be able to just deny the healing, first of all, to the rest of the team, especially since Ana is a single target healer. Using that character as a main heal is quite at the disadvantage against a Baptiste. As we can see, ASP is providing so much more utility on the healing role, and they've just ended up wiping out the rest of Surrey there.
So I'm actually glad to see that Surrey have swapped over to the Brig. I assume that's in an attempt to deal with Top Shagger on the Doom, which is great, but now you have to consider the ramifications of that, right? Is that your Reinhardt now has no speed, so your Reinhardt is exceptionally slow now, and probably will get walked over by the Doomfist and by the Zarya, unfortunately. But let's see how it works. Well,
162 did not expect that coming. My goodness. Well, 1 down. It looks like Surrey is going to have to come back a little bit and regroup. But no, it looks like they're actually holding fast, and they're holding their position. With Blind Luck getting left by the rest of his team to kind of defend the front line in the corner of Library. With no barrier, they have to try and make an attempt to push here, but the resources are very oddly placed. With Nano coming out, Blindluck just blindly charges into the backline, making more space for the team. This is the best example of space taking I've seen from Surrey this match. With the lap coming out from Royal Holloway, we can see that they're quite far pressed backwards, with the supports being separated from the team in the front line instead of the back line here. 162 taking advantage of that, but Sibs being taken back. Royal Holloway do follow up with the beat and the window coming out. And and ults just back and forth, Jimmy. It's a game of ping pong here. Honestly.
I mean, if it's a game of ping pong, then unfortunately there is a very clear winner in that match, and it is Royal Holloway. I mean, even when they overinvest the ults, they still find the value.
And that was a shatter from a pushed up Royal Holloway, but unfortunately it leads to nothing.
I mean, I think the Hog might have just mentally destroyed Surrey's team. And Ruben, I think it's important to touch upon something that was said to me by the Surrey team captain, Blindluck, when I was talking to him about team comps, is that he said that if they lose to Cheese, and when I say Cheese, I don't mean the player, I do mean like the general notion of playing silly compositions that are slightly wackier, like the Hog Zarya, that it does break their mental. He specifically said that to me. So almost the irony of them having a player named Cheese who plays the Hog, and dismantles what should have been the worst what was the worst composition effectively against the Rhyme Brawl on King's Row. It's maybe a little bit bittersweet for Surrey, but
yeah,
obviously we saw it was a 3-0 sweep from Royal Holloway. Obviously there was the possibility of 5 maps plays, but obviously with 3 maps won in a row, it is effectively firmly won by Royal Holloway.
True. Well, honestly, there's nothing else much more to say than it's just a very mashed up plate of spaghetti of nonsense that happened in that last match there. What Royal Holloway was pulling off in the maps before was still quite questionable, but for that King's Row map, I believe that was the that did as they say, take the cake for mental boomage onto the enemy team. They knew that they were in their heads, and as you said, via your insider trading, which you shouldn't reveal too often, but but yeah, as revealed by Surrey themselves, it unfortunately led to their downfall.
So if we're going to talk about individual players, let's talk about who do you think was the MVP for this game. Who do you think put out the best performances? I mean, I assume we'll be looking primarily at Royal Holloway due to the fact that they won all 3 maps. But who would you have said was the front runner or the main man behind their success in these games today, Ruben?
Well, I've got to say, I do have to say, unfortunately, it is a shame to go with just the flashiest player on the team, especially in what was an absolute chaotic match. But I will have to go with Top Shagger. I do believe that his Doomfist it was the difference maker. He was built different that game. He was bussing into the backline. He took no for an answer. He chose violence. He picked up their supports one by one and just dealt the most damage by just taking out their supports at such a vital moment in the team fights. That's it for me.
I mean, I would probably agree with you. I mean, just the fact that we saw such harsh compositional swaps coming out from Surrey, like the Brig, when they're trying to play this kind of Rhine brawl, which doesn't really work. You know, you kind of got to play Brig with maybe something like a Ball or a Winston instead. Just shows how oppressive a good Doomfist player can be. On your supports mainly. If you don't have that peel, if you don't have that CC to handle it, effectively your supports' lives are going to be miserable, and that's kind of what we saw. You know, we saw people like Protein and Sibs effectively just getting dove 24/7, and there was nothing that Surrey could really do about it. I kind of want to give a little shout out to ASP. I thought his lamp usage was really good as well, and generally his windows, on average, got more utility out of them than I think Proteins did. But of course, it's hard to look at the game, especially when it was kind of such a stomp, and be like, um, this player used his ults better. Because at the end of the day, if your entire team is struggling to find kind of their footing, then the whole team will kind of just look worse than the other team. Um, so I do believe they're playing another game. So I think this is
Yes.
a silly fun game.
Oh yeah.
I think they said goats. I'm not entirely sure. I wasn't.
I do
paying-
believe that the roll lock has been disengaged, the red button has been pressed, and we're gonna see some wacky stratties from each team here.
I do hope that they put cheese on something like the Lucio, um, just for fun. But let's see. So they're just talking about what composition is allowed. Obviously, goats was um, highly popular in what was it, about 2019 to 2018 ish. Um, Effectively 3 tanks, 3 supports. Incredibly hard to crack back in the day due to Briggs' overwhelming strength. Obviously, she's been nerfed into the ground now. She's still very strong. She's not as strong as she was. And obviously, Rollock was introduced to counteract goats. And they were just talking about possibly being Sombra being allowed to play, because I guess what was it kind of called? It was like what? Soats? I kind of forget the terminology for it. But...
Yeah, I believe it was Soats or Snoats. There was many different variations. The most prominent I remember is Floats, of course, with the monkey and with the monkey going in there instead of the Rhine. But we shall see here. It looks like Surrey are taking the traditional goats POV with
She's on the Widow for some
She's
bizarre
on
reason. I don't know if she's on the memo that they were doing goats.
I think they're trying to play the Gladiator strat, but without the strat itself. Well, Cheese is clearly taking a pick from the goats composition. I think that is honestly, at this point, pure chaos has just been engaged. There is no normality to this. There's no normalcy. It's
you can see pure disappointment from the enemy team regarding that. They say, Widow, why are they playing the Widow? It's meant to be goats, Widow, goats, woats apparently.
the woats.
Cheese is coming up with new metas we've never seen before apparently. So
The shatter does come in, but it is unfortunately blocked, and ASP is taken, with Top Shagger following as well. So we're going to see Royal Holloway fall back a little bit here, just to, but they have got the point, so they have got an anchor that they can stay on as long as they stay vigilant.
So, if we talk briefly just about goats, just so everyone knows what the general game plan is for goats, is that you heavily invest into your Reinhardt. You basically get the LeBron treatment, as it is. So we're expecting Blind Luck and ASP to really be duking it out here.
Well, as it shows, ASP has won the man-on-man Rhine. Oh my goodness, with the two-man shatter coming out here and the sweep. Blind Luck does take a pick onto Cheese. Cheese does remain the sacrificial piece as part of Royal Holloway that enables them. He's almost like the Agent Coulson to their Avengers, Jamie, where the fact that his elimination just basically unites the rest of the team, and they use that energy and that morale to take over the team fight and just wipe the rest of the game.
And it's funny because they just mentioned in the chat is that Reinhardt recently got changed to if you shatter at close proximity, you do damage. So
True.
In compositions like this where you're brawling exceptionally close, if you hit a shatter on the enemy Reinhardt, it will do a ton of damage, and that's exactly what we
ASP
saw from
is
ASP.
My goodness. Well, I can say for both of us, I think we're just flabbergasted at the rate of play that is happening here. It just seems that they're so hell bent on playing goats, yet they're so aggressive, and we see ASP taking a lot of initiative and also just blocking an awful amount of shatters here coming in. We do see the beat coming into trade with Pleasure, also countering with the trans. Unfortunately, they cannot touch the point as Royal Holloway do just get that.
I mean,
get that
she's
small
got
difference.
an environmental kill onto a mill there.
Taking out
As
Ace as well.
I predicted, she's playing the Lucio. It is just wacky good times seeing.
Well, the man is a devil on the Lucio. He's they do call him the evil speedster right here. Look at him going in. He takes that.
I mean, we talk about the Ryan getting all the investment, but we just saw there, Cheese is getting all the bubbles and he's getting all the healing.
I do apologize to any viewers for our lack of cohesion and just coordination with our vernacular, because my goodness, this is a spectacle to watch live.
I'm not entirely sure how that bomb got picked there. I assume a mill did not have fade on cooldown.
I do believe it's what's called a suicide pact, Jamie. My goodness, they are just throwing. Oh.
Well.
We did. Well, it is safe to say that I think this
I don't know
is
if that
just
was
reached
a worthwhile
peak.
trade, I'll be honest.
We
a Rhine, the most important member of the comp for the Zarya, it's not the best trade deal.
Well, if you ever go to a game store and you try and trade in your brand new copy of the latest Call of Duty, you can tell what a good trade deal is. But we see Top Shagger getting taken out by King with Asp trading back as revenge, and we see the beat coming out.
Went for the 180 shatter and it just did not pay off.
My goodness. It's honestly, we're seeing a lot of weird 1v1s, especially the Rhine versus the Zen, the D.Va versus the Lucio. we are seeing a massive just swap on the roles, and I think they often forget which role they are on, Jamie. I think they've swapped each role and they're playing as if they are on their original role.
I think the goat brain rot has set in, unfortunately, and they're slowly being lured into 3-3 compositions.
Well, we do see that the grab does come out as a defensive measure from Surrey and the beat as well, just to ensure that they can get something going. Pleasure does counter with the trans and the bomb from Kermsid. Unfortunately, getting nothing, but using up a lot of resources here. The traded grab comes out from Kabuoodle, and that just leaves them to wipe out the rest of the team.
I'm honestly surprised you haven't seen a Gravi yet, Ruben, because in these comps, because it's so fast and heavy, usually grabs get eaten fairly frequently because you build them very, very fast.
Jamie,
but,
unfortunately, you are in the banquet hall of the Varsity match. Here we have no such thing as coordinated eats from a D.Va. Here we just have chaos and we just embrace it. We just hold left click and W here. There are no abilities in this game. Just Q,
that's what we're seeing.
W,
They're just walking over. Sorry.
Oh my goodness. We do see Sibs is trying his best to maintain the stagger on the point. It lets Blind Luck and Emil come in to try and save the point, with Protein Farts also coming back in. We see a defensive take being taken out. Oh, Top Shagger does take two out in the back. And we see it's just a wipe, honestly, Jamie. There's not much more here that I can force out of it.
They're just delaying the inevitable at this point, because besides a few sloppy team fights from RHUL Holloway there, the GOATS matchup, it was pretty clear cut. Obviously we still have another round to go, so for all I know, Surrey might pull the magic GOATS card out of the bag. But who knows? Honestly, who knows? But honestly, in that ASP was hitting maybe not the greatest shatters, but he was dominating the Rhine game there. Like, he was taking the space more frequently, he was doing more damage, and he was, I guess, not going for these crazy pins. I know that this is a bit of a wackier game, but those pins are really, really important, especially counter pinning. We didn't really see much from either Ryans, actually, which is kind of surprising. But they're playing...
I gotta say that I do believe that ASP was just honestly just taking that step up on the Ryan and taking the initiative and taking those aggressive pins into the back line of the map. But we could honestly, I think it's safe to say that both teams, as well as us, Jamie, we're just everyone in this lobby has gone off the goop.
I think
It's
so.
safe to say we are
The
seeing
goop has
we are
surely
seeing
been dropped.
we are
Cheese
seeing the
wants to
cheese Genji.
Cheese wants to one-trick Genji, apparently. I mean,
We're seeing
neither
that
team is
into
now playing
a
goats, so
we're seeing that into a Hammond Winston into a Rhine only composition with a Bastion, Torb, and apparently 3 supports. Well, we'll see. We'll have to see how this goes, because usually with a Bastion and a Torb, you want to take that Orisa as the solid anchor tank to be able to enable those characters with the turrets. But will have to see. Unfortunately, there's not much action here going on, as is with these compositions. They're quite stagnant. But with the Rhine, he wants to take those pokes, he wants to take that damage and build up an ult slowly. Kermsid has lost his mech and has been picked off by Ace here, so that has given the opening to Surrey to try and take the picks and position themselves on the Bastion and the Torbjorn here. And another pick goes out from Pleasure, we can see him being taken. Sleep goes out from Kabuudal, but to no avail. They have slept the Baptiste there, but I don't think anything's going to come of it. Cheese does get a bit greedy and does get sacrificed to the Elden Ring, as they would say nowadays. Is that popular still, Elden Ring?
I believe so. I believe so. Probably more popular than Overwatch, unfortunately, but
I wonder why.
It is what it is. The most content we've had in 2 years is Cheese on the Genji, and he's coming up fast on that blade, and I want to see him get a big blade. No nano.
Cheese is here. He's here, and he's making a statement. He's been bubbled with the nade coming in. He gets a pick, and it just opens it up for the rest of the team to come in, with Pleasure taking that trans just to secure themselves the survivability against Sibs. Maybe a bit overkill there, Jamie. Just a bit. Just a tiny bit overkill.
Just a bit, yeah. I'm honestly a little disappointed that we're only seeing 2v2 from RHUL Holloway. I was kind of hoping they would play something maybe a bit more, you know, a bit more goopy, you know, a little bit more wacky. But we are just seeing the double bubble. I know that they mentioned they like playing double bubble, but it hasn't really been meta for a little while, so I imagine they don't really get a chance to play it that much. So I guess taking the opportunity to play it right now.
Well, with Top Jagger here taking just taking the high ground here and not being completely ignored by Surrey, even with the window there. They are just getting picked up from behind with ASP just taking advantage of that. With Protein Fart is being separated from his team, is just being flung around like a volleyball here.
Oh, there's a C9!
C9!
Oh, not the C9!
They do C9 to Blind Luck, who's just left to his own devices, and
now
yeah.
I don't want to point fingers, Ruben, but I will say that Cheese was nowhere near the point, and he did have his dash, so
I have to say, unfortunately, I do think that Top Shagger is also a bit to blame there as well. He did tunnel vision a bit too much on the Protein Farts. I know they're a bit potent, the Protein Farts, but you don't have to focus on them that much. You got to keep your eyes on the road sometimes, you know. But we do see another team fight here starting with a bit of a staggered RHUL Holloway trying to take some advantage. Pleasure does come out with the trans a bit too late because Top Shagger has now been taken, and honestly, I can see them just being out of sync with the ult charge now. The RHUL Holloway is down to almost 3 ults with
ASP keeps getting these small little picks.
Oh!
Opening up the team fight completely.
Well, Blind Luck took that shatter and enabled the kill onto the Kermsid 10 here, but oh, we see the flank Bastion from Sibs, and he gets 2. Oh, let's see if Cheese can falter against the Bastion here. It's a 2-man army. The Shimada clan must survive, but unfortunately they have been overthrown as the rulers of the crime underworld.
By one swing of the hammer, of course. Well,
Of course. The nothing can beat the strong German engineering, as they call it. We do see what I do find, Jamie, is that now that they are set up on the point, we can see that Surrey have gained a lot more momentum. But we do see that the grab has come out from
massive.
My goodness, RHUL Holloway have just thrown every single ult like a chimpanzee with dung almost at zoo visitors it doesn't like. It's and as is tradition, Cheese has offered his HP pool to the charitable organization of Surrey Esports.
I mean, if there was a dung slinging team, it would be RHUL Holloway, and she's heading the team, rightfully so. But you know, we're seeing them retake control. I think Surrey they got a really good start there with the bash, with the torb. They had a setup. Obviously, with only the right shield, they kind of get melted pretty fast, especially with the dive coming through. But also, ASP has been melting on the Hanzo. He's been consistently picking off the squishy targets in the early team fights, and his dragon usage has also been excellent, cutting off the team and usually getting at least one pick.
Well, Capowoodle was caught lacking on the very far left flank for Royal Holloway here, but Top Shagger and Pleasure managed to take out the support line for Surrey, leaving them, just to say, well, easy to say, is open for Asp to just go and take the rest of the picks that he needs. And aside from Pleasure and the turret kill onto ASP, sorry, I believe that Royal Holloway is holding strong here on this corner.
The turret can be lethal. I think people seem to forget how much damage turret actually chunks out sometimes, especially when you have nothing to deal with at range. Obviously, the double bubble is pretty bad against Torgun, so.
Especially playing Monkey solo going in on their brig. A bit greedy there from Top Shagger, but ASP is honestly clutching out the trades onto Protein Farts here. Cheese has been nanoed, and he was before the blade. But you know what they say, the more resources you put into Cheese, the more you'll get back when he feeds it to the enemy team. My goodness, and we see Caboodle and Kermsa10 are taking the ground defensive back against Esports here. With the trades being taken off, 1 minute 30 on the time pool. It looks so it's quite a decent push for Surrey here, Jamie. But we just got to see if they can hold
on
it.
that blade. Even with the boof on that blade from Cheese, you know, he got pinned initially, leaving him with a slither of health, and he decides to pop blade. Maybe a little bit questionable. Obviously, without that blade, obviously they have Grab Dragon, so I assume that's what they're going for. But the trans is there to counteract it. So Caboodle is the person to watch here because she needs to hit a massive nade.
Well, we can see that the grab has come out as long with Ace spewing the gooey substance all across the map here. They have taken a few picks here, but we'll have to see if they can hold strong while they push as Royal Holloway go back to regroup. You can also see the Blind Luck has taken the ball and is honestly just slamming into the backline, making that space and getting a lot of value out of it while he's doing it. Sibs has popped his ult just to secure that last push, and it's proving successful as he's getting 2 from Royal Holloway here. Last left alive is Kermsa10, but unfortunately he's not going to be able to.
I don't even know how I just broke down what I just witnessed, Ruben. I just saw Kermsa10 1v1ing the Zen. he used his breather, which is good because obviously Hog with that breather allows him to keep above a decent health pool, so he doesn't feed crazy amounts. And actually, I think it was recently they put in that he gives less ult charge when he's using his breather, I think, correct? Or maybe just in general he gives less ult charge to make him more viable. But Kermsa10 he cannot secure the kill onto the Zen there in the 1v1, and it's slightly embarrassing, but we'll overlook it because the time bank difference, not massive. Honestly, anybody's game, but I do wonder what they're gonna play here. I wonder if they'll go back to the goats. I honestly doubt it.
Oh, we'll have to see. We'll have to see if they go for the goats or if they just throw sanity out of the window and just embrace pure and utter anarchy.
It looks like they're playing possibly the double shield with the Rhine Sigma. With Cheese now taking the Hanzo.
Well, we see a triple tank composition here from Royal Holloway. Oh, scratch that. Quad tank. We can see with a solo healer. We got to see how effective this is, Joe, because Ana is a single healer, as many people who play Overwatch know. We see Caboodle going in with the slam here, but they are going to get absolutely pummeled. With ASP coming in with the charge out of nowhere, RKO'd almost, and Blind Luck is taken out of the fight. We can see that. Well, with only 4 tanks left, we're going to have to see how Surrey can compare to the mighty 4 tanks of Royal Holloway here. And as is proven, Royal Holloway are just wiping the floor.
I honestly think there's a little bit of irony there that on the last map when we watched them play the Kings Row properly, Blind Luck tries to go for those backwards pins. on the Reinhardt, and he had no success with it. And obviously we just saw ASP get the backwards pin onto Blindwork. So
the random pin from Ace onto Top Shagger has just left a massive opening. With two of their tanks being taken out, we can only assume that Sibs has just gone in with the Coalescence, the Kamehameha, if you will, and has just gone Super Saiyan, taken out the rest of the team that is necessary for Royal Holloway to be able to contest this. Comes in attempts to get a remake kill, but as he does, unfortunately, as everyone knows and who is watching can see, they are mostly tanks. We can see that Ace is taking the initiative here by going far forward and trying to make as much space as they can. But what we got to see, Jamie, is that you got to compromise between staying on the payload and being able to take space here. We can see that if they do just lose that concentration, lose that focus just slightly, if they get picked one by Royal Holloway, then they will lose that team fight eventually.
Well, we're seeing shatters being thrown left, right, and centre, and I don't know if anybody even got value out of those shatters because it was just pure chaos.
Oh, it's utter monkey business.
Classic Overwatch chaos. You can't really tell what's going on, but one team is coming out on top, and in this case, it is Surrey coming out on top.
Well, honestly, Jamie, it looks like Surrey's really found their heart and soul with this four tank composition. They are managing to actually flip the tables and take a more aggressive stance against Royal Holloway, which is surprising, seeing as Royal Holloway are usually the more aggressive of the two teams.
I mean, Cheese is now back onto the Roadhog as well.
He's had enough, Jamie. He's had enough. He's unleashing.
He's bringing him back out. He really wants to mentally boom him as much as possible.
ASP just seems to have fed into the backline here, and it looks like Surrey have the advantage to take the point finally. But Kaboowoodle does come in and cancel out the bongos, and while spacing out the rest of the team from the payload, Protein Fart's just taking one with the ult, and Blindlook also finishing off on the Arna. And I do believe that is Surrey's win.
I wonder if we'll see any compositional changes come out from Royal Holloway here, because there it is. It's Pleasure onto the Lucio. I can't say that was what I had in mind, but and coming over to the Zarya.
Well, it seems like ASP has taken the cheese mantle in the way of dying first in every team fight here. King is honestly just living his best life and just living back.
I'm mildly confused how Emil died there when there's 3 shields on his team, but it happened to the best of us.
Well, they are 2 down now, Jamie, so it looks like it is Royal Holloway's advantage here, but it all depends on how they manage it. So the Flux does come out from Top Shagger here with ASP taking 2 with the pin. It's looking like, unless Surrey can take a pick with their ult, it's almost looking like Royal Holloway are going to convert this back into their side.
I think that's only the end of the push for Surrey, because, well, no ball on their team to recontest, they kind of just have nothing. So, there it is. The cheese whole hog. Nothing's touching that point, I'm afraid.
My goodness, my goodness. Well, if we were to conclude, one thing from watching this, this map specifically, Jamie, what would you say?
That I guess 4 tanks is Surrey's best composition, which is perhaps a little worrying, seeing as 222's been in the game for God knows how long.
Well, I mean, they are clearly the champions of the Varsity team in 2019.
That is true. That is very, very true. They are Surrey's best. So, who knows? Maybe Overwatch 2, this team will be amazing because they'll be losing a tank and they'll get to play that brawly, aggressive style that they just love. But
what we've got to say as well from what we've seen speculated by vague tweets from people who have had access to the alpha, you can see that the game is a lot slower paced. I think I believe it was Molly on the Guangzhou Charge who said that the game is a lot slower paced. So with Surrey being a lot more of a passive team, we can see that maybe they have a chance in Overwatch 2. But unfortunately, unless the game enables the chaos filter, they aren't going to be as successful in Overwatch 2 as we thought. Also, big up Surrey. I promise I hold no bias.
We're seeing the quad tank again. sorry, the BAP this time, as opposed to I think it was the Lucio.
Well, we can see that they have taken 6 DPS, with Pleasure taking Soldier, and he has taken the high ground here. He's just pelting a little bit of damage on against against Surrey's triple tank, quad tank composition with the Bat Moira. Well, unfortunately, JB, I don't see how Royal Holloway are going to get anything done here. There is such thing as too much damage, I think, especially against 4 tanks who are capable of just taking all of that damage in and just converting it into space.
I mean, that is a lot of damage, but
That's a lot of damage.
unfortunately, damage doesn't always equate to kills and picks, and in this case, it definitely doesn't.
What do you mean, Jamie? The Cheese Widow is
Well,
clearly the superior player here.
We see comes in getting the pick onto Ace.
But it's unfortunately with 1 tank down, they still have 3, so we're gonna have to see how Royal Holloway can capitalize on that. Protein Pots has been caught out of position and is getting focused down. ASP putting the pulse bomb onto him and punishing him for that poor positioning there. Sibs does get hacked in return, and Pleasure finishes him off with the Helix rockets. And it looks like Royal Holloway are just gonna clean up here and just take the point.
Perhaps I spoke too soon. Maybe there is no such thing as too much damage, and in this case, they made it work. I think the key to take away from that team fight was the positioning from Top Shagger, taking high ground with the Bastion, pelting damage onto the shields, breaking them, allowing the other DPS to push in and really just chunk in damage with no fear of just shield botting effectively.
Goodness. Well, honestly, Jamie, I am starting to become a bit of a believer in the 6 DPS composition. We can see that Blind Luck has punished Cheese for his poor positioning. First to go in the team fight, but what is new? We see Pleasure does try to take that higher ground advantage against Blind Luck. Blind Luck comes in with a failed pile driver. Sorry.
Massive EP.
Comes in, does get his Blossom cancelled again. With Top Shagger trading 2 on the Bastion. It looks like a pick for pick here, but unfortunately, I think for Surrey, it's... Oh, never mind. You know what? I should just close my mouth, because it just made me eat my own words.
Obviously, because we're an OT, if nobody can touch the point, if the players stiff the payload for about 3 seconds, 2-3 seconds, then the map is lost. So, Royal Holloway got to be really, really careful they don't C9, because I don't know if I can take another C9 ribbon. I really don't. Not after that last one.
I think I could take just one more for pure entertainment value.
Possibly.
Ace with the BM onto Cheese. Honestly, he saw him and he knew what he wanted to do. He had the determination, and there it is. That's the map. That is the map.
I don't know if I want to call C9 on that, but
nah. I think it was fair game. I think Surrey won that fairly.
So, as we found out, Surrey, they hate the cheese. They hate the cheese cops, but yet it's their strength. So maybe looking back to 2-2 and looking over the team, maybe Surrey should look into team comps that maybe are more chaotic. I know that they said that they like to play brawl, which can be a bit chaotic, but maybe they should maybe invest more into ball compositions and really to kind of like push this narrative of chaos, because as we just saw, chaos just works for them apparently. It's what won them the map. Obviously it was only a for funsies map, but yeah, it's interesting to look at. But obviously, coming away from this ribbon, our winners are Royal Holloway.
Yep.
They did take all 3 maps. So congratulations to them. They played very, 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 very well.
They did indeed. They did indeed. The power of cheese compels them, as they would say. Oh, goodness.
I believe so. I think that's about it for the games today. So I guess we'll just wrap it up here. Thank you for watching the stream. I hope you've enjoyed the games. Thank you to all the players for putting their all in, and the production team as well for doing a great job on top of that, and everybody being on time and organising. So hope you've enjoyed. It's a goodbye from me.
And from me as well. Yeah, but honestly, great match all around. It was first time casting, so apologies for any rustiness or any repetitive strains from our casting. But we're honestly glad for the opportunity, and thank you for both teams for honestly being really good sports and playing to the best of what they can do there. So fantastic all round.
All right. Thank you.
Alrighty, take care, guys.
GG.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Bye.